Hello, welcome back to another video. My name is Gemma and I am here with February's episode of Hot or Not. So if you haven't been here before, Hot or Not is a series of videos that I am doing where I review brand new releases and tell you whether they're worth your time, money and brain power. And this month I am reviewing The Storm We Made by Vanessa which was published in January. So The Storm We Made is a historical fiction novel which takes place over two timelines. It's set in the 1930s and 1940s Malaya, and it is told over four POVs, or points of view. Four perspectives. We have Cecily, who is the main character. We sort of see her in the 1930s in British occupied Malaya as she sort of unwittingly becomes a spy for the Japanese. And then we fast forward into the 40s, into Japanese occupied Malaya, and we follow her three children and sort of see the consequences of Japanese occupation on the people of Malaya, and the sort of the feelings that Cecily has about her part in making that come about. So I really enjoyed learning about the British and Japanese conflict and sort of fight really over Malaya. It's an area of history that I didn't know too much about before going into this, and I think what Chan did really well was sort of highlight the fact that you've got the Brits on one side, you've got the Japanese on the other side, and it's the Malaysian people that suffered throughout that conflict. I also really appreciate getting perspectives on the Second World War that aren't European or American, so that was a big tick box for me. The plot in itself was super fast moving. I think this is one of those books that will be like a real crowd pleaser. It's really accessible, really readable. You cannot stop turning the pages. It's the sort of plot that just sucks you in and keeps you reading. And I think that's going to appeal to a really broad array of readers. The one criticism I have is when we start talking about character. So as I said at the beginning, this is told over four different perspectives, and I love a multi-perspective book, but if you're going to do that, I need that book to probably be closer to the 500 page mark, and this book was around the 350 mark. So I just felt like because there were four characters, I didn't get to spend enough time with any one of them to really understand them in the way that I would like to, and that meant that I wasn't able to emotionally connect with some of the events that happened, and there were some significantly traumatic events that happened, as you can imagine, in an occupied country. Though I obviously had empathy for the characters, I didn't feel that emotional gut punch that I personally as a reader really look for in a book, and I do think that was because we just didn't have enough time with any of these characters. I think had there been less points of view or more pages, then it would have been a 5-star read for me, but because of that I only gave it 4 stars. I say only, but 4 stars is a solid rating. It means I would recommend it to the vast majority of people. And as I said before, I think this is a really accessible book, and for a debut novel I thought it was really fantastically written, really well constructed. There is one line that comes up in books, and if I read it I automatically knock half a star off because it's my most detested line in the history of the world. And that is, she released a breath she didn't know she was holding. It's such a cliche line. And I counted 2. There might have been more, but I counted 2 in this book, and I don't like to see it at all, ever. It should be removed from like the English vocabulary. So there were a few little things in there that I thought were a little bit telling that she was a debut author, but on the whole I thought it was fantastic. I did also find that though I was with it till about 75% of the way through, and then there were a lot of things that happened that seemed a little unlikely or a little convenient, and it was a little bit convenient and a bit too neat, I think, at the end. And again, that could have been solved with another 150 pages. So I guess my overall thoughts are that I really, really like Vanessa Chan as an author. I think she's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to see what she does next. And I think in her next book, where she perhaps feels like she has more brevity to push out a bigger book, I would really like to see her do that, because I think given more time, more word count, more page count, Vanessa Chan could come with an excellent book. As a side note, I actually saw Vanessa Chan talk at the Women's Prize live event last year. She was one of their sort of discovery authors. I can't quite remember what the term was. And she talked about her book there. And from that moment, I knew I was going to read it, because, I mean, historical fiction, multiple generations, a war setting in a different country. Those are all things that I really, really look for in a book, and I'm just really glad that it paid off, because she was so lovely when she talked in London last year. So yeah, if you hadn't guessed, my review for this is that it is a hot book. I definitely think you should give it a go. Definitely pick it up. It is a really compelling read. I'd love to know, I think quite a lot of people have read this. I've seen it sort of all over Instagram and BookTube, really. So if you've read it, I'd love to know what your thoughts were. If you haven't read it, let me know. Does it sound like your sort of jam? Are you like, oh, no, thank you? I like to know these things. If you missed my last episode of Hot or Not, I reviewed Orbital by Samantha Harvey, and I will leave that video here. Rudy's just popping in for a little last minute hello. And I will see you very soon with another one. Bye, guys.